before you could even say, get down. You just hear, pew.
More than 60 shots fired at one East Side home left a mother's life forever changed as her 4-year-old son, De-Earlvion Whitley, was killed. The deadly shooting all a part of gang violence that was wreaking havoc in the East Side in 2017. And now one of the suspects charged with Whitley's murder is heading to trial.
And De-Earlvion Whitley, that 4-year-old, will get his justice.
This is Open Court, Justice for De-Earlvion Whitley.
In 2017, violence on the East Side was on the rise amid what authorities say at the time was due to gang violence as rivals were clashing. The violence reached its peak on July 19, 2017, as a drive-by shooting resulted in the death of 4-year-old De-Earlvion Whitley. Here's a look back at the case and why it took years to arrest those responsible for his murder.
It was late in the evening when shots rang out in the 200 block of Hub Avenue. A house riddled with bullets. Around 65 shots were fired.
You could hear them pass in your ear as you just sitting there wondering before you could even say, get down. You just hear, pew.
Santwanisha Whitley was inside with her young sons. She was hit twice in the leg, and her son, De-Earlvion Whitley, also hit, but dying of his wounds. Police saying at the time they believed the drive-by shooting was in retaliation to a previous shooting that took place earlier in the day. The search was now on for those responsible. For the past several months after the shooting, arrests had been made, but nobody officially charged with De-Earlvion's murder. In November of that year, a federal investigation led to the arrest of multiple gang members, including De-Earlvion's father. Those arrests led to the release of more details into the shooting. Earl E. Whitley, Jr. was the apparent target, but wasn't home at the time. Whitley was an alleged gang member and was arrested along with others and facing federal grand jury charges of distributing cocaine and conspiracy. After those arrests, the case still didn't lead to anybody getting charged with murder, but that did come almost 3 years later. Terrell Chase, Todd Hill, and Quentin Phillips were officially charged with murder, felon in possession of a firearm, and deadly conduct. A fourth man, Dakota Peppers, also indicted, but only charged with felon in possession of a firearm. The Bexar County District Attorney's Office announcing the charges, but also saying other arrests were pending. District Attorney Joe Gonzalez says collaboration with federal authorities helped lead to the 4 men being arrested and charged. It wasn't much longer after that indictment that Michael Woodard and John Chapman were also charged with murder. 6 men now all behind bars.
The case is now in the hands of the 437th District Court. After the 2020 indictment, defendants prepared for trial, but not all officially charged were still facing a murder charge. We spoke with a local defense attorney who isn't involved in this case about why some charges were dismissed and why this wasn't a capital murder case.
Multiple co-defendants can lead to a very complex case as each defendant has their own attorney, some take pleas, and others have their charge dismissed. Local attorney Daniel De La Garza gave us some insight into cases such as this one, and first tells us why the defendants were probably not charged with capital murder.
I think that it's just real hard to find out who exactly the trigger person was, and then that makes it tough for the prosecutors to prove.
With the 6 men charged in De-Earlvion Whitley's death, 2 have already been sentenced. Dakota Peppers got 6 years for felon in possession of a firearm, and Todd Hill got 8 years for the same charge. While Peppers was never charged with murder, Hill was, and had that murder charge dismissed.
There is the law of parties, and there's all that kind of stuff where it's if one person did it, everybody participating is responsible. But that's still really tough to prove in front of a jury. And
the other 4 co-defendants are still charged with murder, and John Chapman will be heading to trial first. As to what kind of defense we could see his lawyers taking,
I think the best one is the identity thing. I didn't do it. I wasn't there. And I've had a little bit of success with that in murder cases, especially.
Overall, though, De La Garza believes this trial will be hard for all involved.
Anything involving a child victim is always going to be difficult.
Jury selection for Chapman's trial begins on May 19th, with opening statements and testimony to begin on May 22nd. We will be live streaming this trial. You can watch on KSAT.com, KSAT's YouTube page, and KSAT Plus.
This trial will reveal even more details into gang violence that took place here in San Antonio, and also if there will in fact be justice for De-Earlvion Whitley.